Hey,
What's up? What's up? What's up?
Rupert.
The boys are back.
The boys are back in town. Oh my gosh.
Christian warrior.
We got
Yeah. We're gonna go back to one.
Wrong show.
Go back to the old
What's
one.
up, Rupert?
So, gentlemen, we want to welcome all of our lovely fans who have been watching us and friends and family. We want to welcome them to another Warriors United show. Hey. So
we do.
Yes.
What's going on, guys? How was your weekend?
Quiet. No. Let me give my props. Eva, my granddaughter, she's in the athletics. Her season ended yesterday.
Oh.
She came second in the 60 meters, and she came 5th overall. So she got on the podium. Yep, she got on the podium. Eva, congratulations.
Good job.
Yes, she did a great job. Especially it was her first season too.
Wow.
So yes, so
Okay.
she did great.
Wow.
And with her mother said she's going to coach her. She's going to be like a Jamaican runner next year because they fastest. What was your weekend? Jamaica. What's wrong? What happened? Okay.
So, all right, let's back up. Why does it have to be a Jamaican runner? I mean, there's some fast Americans out here, bro.
Whatever.
You know what?
Anyway, let's go.
You know what? So because it was a sprinter, she's Jamaican. If it was a long distance, he would have said like some Kenyan runner. He would have said a Kenyan.
There you go. See, I guess we profiling. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Profiling countries.
Yes.
Even though right now, it's the fastest woman in the world. I mean, she's not the fastest woman in the world because that goes to Elaine Thompson. But she won her gold medal the last Olympics. So, but it's Olympics this year. So, what was yours?
Why did he turn and look at me like that?
How was your weekend?
Try to switch the subject.
On this moment.
Try to switch the subject.
I know. It was a great weekend. As I always tell people on my job, they ask me the same question. When I'm not at work, it's always a good weekend. Yeah. No matter what you do, the more or the less, it's always a great weekend. But the funniest thing about a weekend is that when you watch somebody who turns on a Zoom and they have to be in the bathroom, and you just see a shower nozzle in the background. Or a shower curtain. And all you gotta do is just laugh at them. I'm not mentioning no names or anything, but you just laugh at them.
Anyway, we got a great show. We're going to have a great show tonight.
What about you, Rupert?
We're going to have a great show tonight.
Woo! So, my week, it was great. It was a good weekend. No, except for unfortunately we had as we had a homegoing, one of our ministers passed away, but it was a wonderful homegoing service. The family was happy. I always try to make sure the homegoing service the family is happy with it, and they were. So I'm glad the church folks really came out. We were shorthanded, as you know, we lost a lot of members, but those that were left are working hard, and I'm so proud of RPC. So all is good. God is great. And speaking of homegoing, it's a perfect segue to the show.
It's good segue. Even though it's not a great discussion you want to have about homegoing, but the segue,
The segue was solid.
Yes.
Tonight is going to be a nice, informative show.
Yes.
And we still may have a little bit of humor in this, but this is a show that's more or less dealing with information of dealing with the time in our lives when one transition. Also understanding what you need to know and what we don't know. And tonight we have two fine individuals going to help us come with a better understanding of dealing with the process of a loved one. So tonight we have Sedale Green and we have Debra Green Davis. Welcome. And we want you guys to introduce yourselves.
Yeah, but before you do that,
please,
we got to do what we got to do. Saints of God, young people, old people, all those who are watching us, please press the share button, the like button, any button that you see that is to do with this show. Press it, please, as a Jamaican would say, press the button, press it, press it. Anyway, Sedale, Debra, introduce yourselves, please. Go ahead, Debra.
Good evening, everybody. As I said, my name is Debra Davis. I work for one of the largest African American funeral homes in Baltimore. We have 4 locations in the city, and that funeral home is Von C. Green Funeral Services. I also attend Transformation Church of Jesus Christ at 5150 Baltimore National Pike.
And look, give the address of Vaughn Green's across the street.
Oh, so I worship at 5150 and I work at 5151.
Wow.
So it's right
There you
across
go.
the street.
Yes,
Just walk across the street.
So transformation has it easy, huh? Transformation just has to put. Okay, I see how y'all doing. That's a good way to do it.
So they can come see me. All you gotta do is walk across the street.
I see it.
Oh no, you will see the convocation. Don't worry.
Yeah, I see it.
Sedale?
I've never looked for it, but I will look for it this time when I come to Baltimore. I will look for it. I'll be like, right there.
Past the big white building.
You can't miss it.
Inside.
Right
You
across
can't miss
the
it.
street.
Yeah. All right.
Go ahead, sir.
So I'm Sedale Green. I'm from Florence, South Carolina, and that's where I live. I lived in Atlanta, went to mortuary school there, went to Bethesda Cathedral there, moved to Baltimore, went to Transformation Church, was part of the church.
Yep.
Worked for Marshall Funeral Home there, and I relocated back here a little over 3 years ago. And I run Jordan Funeral Home, and I'm a licensed funeral director and embalmer that does contract work for a lot of other funeral homes in the area. And I also at my church, I'm associate pastor, Great Design Tabernacle Apostolic Church here in Florence. So just do what I got to do.
All right, well, welcome, guys. Welcome. So you want to kick it off?
So okay then.
Thank you.
So that people know, I'm directing this one to Debra because she so faithfully wants to talk about this. What is the process, or what should the process be for when a funeral is about to happen or going to be in process? What should we be thinking, or what should we do before that process begins?
And I know a lot of people, it's uncomfortable for people and they don't want to talk about it. But the time really to talk about it is when everybody's calm and you can discuss what you want and possibly even begin the process of prearranging for a service, so that when something does happen, people are calmer to some extent and they have some idea what the other person wanted or wants. And I would just say, the first thing we need to do is to decide what funeral home we're going to use. And once you decide what funeral home you're going to use, then placing that call at the time you experience a loss. And typically a funeral director will be able to speak with you and walk you through the steps. When someone passes, this is going to be general across the board. You're going to need that person's social security number. You're going to need to know their date of birth. You're going to need to know their father's name, their mother's first and maiden name. You're going to need to know what they did if they're retired. Retired is not an option on the death certificate. There has to be some sort of occupation, and then the place of employment. So those are all things that go on the death certificate that you'll have to know at the time of the person's demise. Otherwise, somebody's father's
I got a question for you, Debra. Okay.
name.
There's some kind of delay on your screen, Debra. I mean, it's like breaking up and coming in. But you said retirement. Okay. So I'm retired. So they'd have to put some kind of occupation?
Yes,
Yes,
post.
what you did when you were working your last job. So
Whatever.
you're
Oh, that's easy then. Okay then.
Baseball
Oh,
security?
oh, that's fine.
Okay.
Baseball security?
Who?
Baseball security? That would
Man,
put the
man,
last
bro.
job or the last main job, because some of us work like part-time jobs.
Right. Good
When,
point.
it's for
when you were
demographic. It's for demographic studies. When you do a death certificate, they ask all your vital information. That's what goes into research groups. So when they say, well, this age group, this race, this region of the country, all that data goes into a federal database, and that's where they get statistics from.
so they want your real, then what you really did for your career, pretty much.
Well, where
Not
you
just
say
what
you worked last, right? We can only go by what you give us. But if you were a janitor and
Correct.
that's what you did, that's your occupation.
Okay, so I think what Rupert was like saying, like I work for the Orioles then. So
He worked for the Orioles. Whatever your
Okay.
job was. Mhm.
Now, Debra mentioned something about
Yeah.
the director is supposed to take you through the steps. How well can you trust this director? Because
yes,
you're going through your grieving process and they could be just selling you anything. They can be trying to upsell you on a casket, upsell you on packages and stuff like that. I mean, how do you know you're not being taken advantage of?
Is that for me or
Either
Deborah?
one, either one of you.
I would say it is, well, two things. One thing Deborah said was to pre-plan. So, like me, I've come up with a pre-planning packet. Give somebody your wishes, get to know people. Like I tell my people on funerals, I come to cookouts and birthday parties too. You just don't have to see me every time somebody dies. Get to know your person. Ask questions.
Okay.
Ask a lot of questions. Me and Deborah can attest as well as I. We get a lot of questions afterward. Is this right? What is this? Every funeral home is required to give you a price list when you call or go by there. That's federal law. You're not just, we as a people, sometimes we think that's morbid. Ask questions. How much is a funeral? How much do y'all charge? What do I have to pay for? Kind of get an idea so you'll know now why your head is clear. But look at the consensus. 1,000 Frenchmen aren't wrong. This is where a lot of people are going. If they're going to the funeral home on the right and they're not going to the funeral home on the left, and every time you ask somebody about it and they say the funeral home on the left, they don't like the way they treat people, they don't do things right, and everybody said, well, we like the one on the right, there's got to be a reason.
yeah. Before we carry on, we're gonna let the audience know they are not related. They both have the same name, Green. Thanks for the question, though.
But they're not related.
That's good eye. That's good focus, but they're not related.
Right.
It just so happened that they're green.
And we thank you for sending
They're
your
not
questions.
really
We're gonna
green.
try to
Their
get
last
some
name
of
is
it.
green.
Yeah.
Their last name is Green. They're not green. Their last name is Green. Simon.
No, because the reason why I asked that
They're
question,
brown. One, God.
the reason why I asked that question, we were watching something earlier about this funeral director who's now being sentenced for 12 years, perpetrating being a licensed funeral director, but he wasn't. Now here these people are entrusting their loved one with this person, and it turns out the person was a fraud.
Yeah.
So now the evidence has been proven towards him that he was guilty, so now he's going to get 12 years in jail. That's why I asked that question. How do you know that the person you're dealing with is truly legit?
Because now these families are traumatic. Now it's just
They're
traumatized.
Yeah.
They're traumatized about this.
Well, I'm gonna say this: every government state license can be verified on a state's website. Just Google your state's name, licensed funeral director verification, and a screen will come up, and you can put their name in there, see their license number, and if they got in trouble or not. You can read and see everything about a person. Google reviews are subjective, but they're good too. What do you think, Deborah?
Absolutely. There's a website that you can go to and just Google the person's name and the state that you believe they're licensed in, and you can find out. Maryland has Maryland State Board has a website you can go to and look up the information to see that I am a duly licensed funeral director, licensed mortician is my true license.
Mhm.
So I'm licensed to embalm and direct services and
Now,
make arrangements with
so,
families.
Sedale got all these on the wall, so we can see that. Go ahead, Rupert.
Go to any state, it's up there.
I was going to say that I remember when Sedale yesterday said, you know, he has 5. It was all blurry yesterday. Today he's not blurry. You can see every single one of them.
Thank you. He mentioned
Thank
it.
you, sir. Thank you, sir. But my question is, so when somebody's looking for a place for their loved one to finally do all this, what is the top 3 things they should really be looking for, or should be asking when they walk into that home, that funeral home? What 3 things do you think they should be really asking about?
And I don't think you necessarily have to ask anything. I think when you walk in, the atmosphere, the feeling, the spirit, the people, the way you're greeted, there are going to be a lot of things that are going to make you just go, and I can only speak from my experience. People say ministry, and you'll know immediately whether it's a true ministry. And I can tell you that you'll know it's right.
Right.
People are not always concerned about the people that are left behind. And that's important, not only to take good care of the deceased person, but to take care emotionally of the people that are left behind. And when you're in the right place, you'll know it.
I'm gonna say this. I concur with Debra, but I'm so glad you asked this question because I can say it now. I usually can't say it. 3 things I'm thinking you're gonna need to do, not be looking for. First, be honest. If you don't have no money, or if you only got $10,000, or if you only got $20,000, tell me up front. Don't. I'm not saying I'm going to do off of what you say, but let me help work with you. Same thing. If there's a husband or wife somewhere, tell me. I don't want nobody calling me 3 o'clock in the morning. My husband's up there. Who? I asked you, did they have and I'm calling people back. I had no lie. I had a service. I had a lot of issues with this family. I asked them, is there a husband, wife anywhere? Nowhere. Did the service, buried the man, went back up to the grave one last time. And this lady got a folding chair sitting on the grave. And so I said, who are you? She said, I'm the wife. And you got his name spelled wrong. I turned around and I went back to the funeral home. I ain't got nothing to say. The reason I say that is it's a lot of legal issues that we have to go through. If there's a wife or a husband or a child or something somewhere, there are legal. Let me just start here. The order of succession is a living spouse. Okay. Not common law, nothing else. For the 9 out of 10 times, living spouse, adult child, adult grandchild, parents, then brothers and sisters, then anybody else.
Not what it is here. It's Maryland. Maryland's not that.
What's the law in Maryland?
It's spouse, and then it's parents, and then it's adult children, and then siblings. I'm sorry. So, it's adult children, spouse, adult children, parents, and then siblings.
Right. And so
grandchildren don't have any say.
Really. And some states give grandchildren the right. You have to know your state, but this first thing I would say, be honest. Let us know what's going on with the situation when you come in. Because what happens is when family's not there, we get phone calls. People walk in out the street talking about these people. And so I'm like, bring me a marriage certificate. You know, I have to put things on hold if people are not together. If you and your brothers and sisters are fighting over your mama, just tell me from the start. Don't let me walk into a fight and I don't know what's going on. The second thing I would say, ask questions. Ask a lot of questions. If you don't feel comfortable about something or you don't feel settled, ask until you feel resolved. And if you're not getting the answer you need, you may need to go through a different channel. And I think those are two things I would add to what Deborah's saying. What'd you say, Mark?
Well, question, you touched on the thing about payment, because it's not funny, but it was. It was the incident where I saw something on YouTube where the person didn't pay the funeral director. So while at the funeral procession, they took the person's remains out of the casket and threw it on top of the car. And the family was fighting the funeral director because of what's going on. But he was like, you didn't pay me. So it's like, to me, the contract doesn't exist anymore. Is that something that can really happen, or is that just?
No, that is like comedy. But what I will say is take care of business at business time. When you're in the office, and when I say this, it's not that we're after money, but it does cost. See, people don't understand. We have other people we have to pay. We don't make caskets. We don't own cemeteries. We have people we have to pay, and all of this stuff, inflation goes up for us too, right, Deborah?
Right.
So let us know if you're having a financial challenge and you can't afford this. Don't come in and plan something and you don't have the money with wishful thinking. Say, hey, this is what I want. I might can steer you into a better option in your price range that works for you, and you can walk away being free because you got to live tomorrow, than walking away with a heavy debt over your head, and then you're looking like they duped me. My prices are online. I put my price list online. I have no secrets. Yeah, you can walk in, you can go to JordanFuneralHomeInc.com, and you got my price list up there.
Yeah, we're going to try and get to some of these questions, because these questions are throwing up.
Hold on, yeah,
Go ahead, Deborah.
To the question. Deborah was going to say something. Sorry.
I was going to say something that's really important is that, sometimes families aren't getting along. That's true. But it's up to us to try and help the families to come to some conclusion that suits everyone, and that the family and the people who are coming to support the family can have a reasonable and lovely service for the person that this is supposed to be about, and not a lot of foolishness. And that's our goal, is just to make sure that the family that's left behind have a pleasant memory.
We don't want to perpetuate that stuff, but we got to work through it. If it's 3 kids, okay, that's one thing. But if it's 2, you both have equal rights in many instances. So we got to kind of get a middle ground in that to help people, because one may have one idea for one thing, one may have another idea for another. And it's where we come in. We wear many different hats, right? Deborah, counselor, psychologist, banker, financial planner. That's why we say pre-plan this stuff. Call us today. Let's sit down and go through this stuff so we can get it together, so your family don't have to worry about it.
Well, you just said something about pre-planning. Let's say, hypothetically, that a family was killed in an accident. Okay, pre-planning wasn't taking place. In cases like that, where you may have a whole family that needs to be funeralized at the same time, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
We've actually
popped up on my screen. I don't know what it was, but hold on one second. There we go.
We've had families where they lost 3 family
like that. So do you do like a?
What happened?
I said we've actually had families where they've lost 3 family members at the same time. You just you determine who is in charge for each family member that has transitioned. Whether it's a husband and a wife, then we know the children. If they're still living, the children are in charge if they are over 18. If it's children, then the parents are going to be our point of contact. You just have to determine who the person to be in charge is for each person that died. And then you work together with those people if they'd like to have a service together. If they don't want to have a service together, then you end up with 3 or 4 individual services. But typically when somebody loses someone, like a group of people like that together, they want to work together because they're grieving together and they want to grieve together and support each other. So it's usually most of the time when it's a sudden death, it's easier to deal with people than it is when somebody's been sick for a long time, because somebody's mad at somebody who wasn't there, who didn't come to see mama, who didn't help out, who now wants to have some say and is not contributing, as they would say, a nickel in the service. So typically, if it's a sudden death, people are more obliged to work together, I think.
Last question. I mean, I hope this doesn't sound corny, but
It's corny.
when you have
corny.
When you have multiple people, I'm not trying not to laugh. Do you give like a package deal, or is it still individual? No, because she said she had a family of 3. I mean, is it based on like just the like one price, or is it like based on individual person?
And I can't say what other funeral homes do, but we definitely offer the family a discount when there's that many family members at one time. We definitely offer a discount.
Okay, thank you.
And somebody just asked what the average cost of a funeral is.
Yeah, we're going to go through the questions. We're going to go through all those questions.
We're going to go through the questions.
So here we go.
There we go.
We got a bunch of them.
Yep. What is the average price is funeral service today? I'm just reading what it says.
Well, regionally, it's about $8,000 without the cemetery, 8 to 9 without the cemetery.
Now, is this state specific? Because some states are a little bit expensive.
Like down, y'all have to do perpetual care up there. We dig our graves down here. You know, we got church.
So I can tell you, our average cost is about $6,500.
Yeah.
Where's that? Because that's not up here in
Maryland.
I'm in Maryland.
That's not New Jersey. New Jersey average cost is about $11,000.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's because you're north.
And that depends on that. I think the greater cost is in caskets. People select caskets, but our average cost is about $6,500.
Is that including the grave, or that's just the cost?
I have a feeling that you're going to find the pricing different from state to state. But where I am, we have a package that is actually $6,095, and it includes a casket.
Man, you have a lot of people, burying people in Maryland.
But and see,
Sedale, wait a minute, Sedale, you was very adamant on saying we dig our graves here.
So the price of cemeteries up there are $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000.
Mm-hmm.
Down here, cemeteries don't cost that much. If you remember the church, we dig a grave out back, and we tote you out the church to the back, and we bury you out back. So you go to the church, you got a free plot. But if you up there, you got to pay $6,000 to go.
You allowed
about $3,000, yeah.
You're allowed to bury people on church property out there.
You can bury them in your backyard. You can bury people in your backyard. In your front yard down.
My cousin's church has a cemetery. They bury people in the back. Yes.
Yeah, that's the thing down south. So that's where we dig, like the funeral home. We have tractors and backhoes and shovels, and we dig graves. So the cemetery cost is more up there. So their funerals are less. With us, we do more of the labor. Like we still take chairs and lights and setups to houses when people die in tents. You know,
they bury at residences in your front yard, in your backyard.
No.
Wow.
We're not going to be digging no graves in the back of Transformation. I know that. So.
I'm not burying nobody in my front yard.
Me neither.
Because people be big Halloween or something. Okay, how much does pre-planning cost?
There's no actual cost for pre-planning. You just select what you want and you begin to make payments on it so that at the time that you actually need it, hopefully you've paid for it. But there's no additional cost for pre-planning.
Now you could do like pre-need and pre-planning, 2 different things. Debra's talking about pre-need. So pre-planning is kind of like a wish list. I got a book I'm going to produce and publish in a few when I get back to it. It goes to everything for a funeral. It asks you questions and let you answer. Option 1, option 2. Do you want this? Do you not want this? I've done it with several people. Actually, one lady who was very close to me, like my Georgia mom, my second mom, I did it with her years ago, and when she passed unexpectedly last year, we pulled out my document that I did with her, and she answered her questions to the T. So it was no question about what she wanted. You know, like she wanted to be buried in her usher uniform, and her daughters were like, "We don't want to bury mom in an usher uniform." We flipped the page, bury me in my usher uniform. You know, one more time, bury me in my usher uniform. So, you know, pre-planning, write down what you want. Not only funerals, and I think Debra can attest to this, financial information. Where you want to be buried, who you want to handle your stuff, who knows your personal information. Because a lot of times people are in the dark because we're kind of secretive people, just in general. We don't like talking about our demise. But pre-planning, pre-need preparation for the end time is not only for funerals, but it's for business as well. Property taxes, things like that.
Yeah,
we're gonna have to be like Jeopardy. We're gonna be like Jeopardy because there's a lot of questions coming
We
up.
appreciate you guys,
and we appreciate them. So
Yes.
we're gonna try and get through them. So they must love both of you because they coming.
I can tell you the average.
What is the average cost? What's the average cost of transporting a body to another state?
Ooh,
we charge $24.95 as a flat rate, and then the cost for the air is added to that price.
$24.95 as in
$24.95, and then the cost for the flight.
$24.
$2,495.
I was thinking the same thing.
Oh, okay.
And then
that's reasonable.
typical
I go get mine and bring them back. But it depends if you have a funeral.
Yeah.
Some people have funerals on one end. I had a body in DC about 3 weeks ago. I went and got it and brought it back, you know. If you have a funeral on that end or if you have a funeral on this end, it all depends. If you have a funeral on that end, you have to pay that funeral home for what they've done. Then the receiving funeral home has a charge. Or if you just have them prepare the body and ship it, then you have to buy the casket on one end or the other.
Yeah, I didn't finish.
Pay for that. Yeah, but it all depends. Like for me, most of my people, if they die in North Carolina, like I had one die in DC. I'm licensed in DC. I went and got them and bought them back. Georgia.
What was the cost? What was the cost then when you did that?
Well,
what did you charge them?
The charges is mileage. So if you drive, there's like $2-3 a mile one way. But if you fly, the flight's like what, $500-$600?
No, it's about $650.
$650.
So
Yeah,
what I was going to say is we charge $24.99 for shipping. Excuse me, $24.95 for shipping, $24.95 for receiving. But again, like Sedale said, if they have a service where they're coming from, they're going to pay for whatever the services were in the state or city where they're being shipped from. If they have a funeral here, they're going to pay for whatever the funeral cost is, and then the cost for the airfare.
Sister Debra, please explain again, because you say $24.95 up here in the north. $24.95 means
in
$24.
Maryland.
$2,400.
You cannot say
$2,495. If you
$24.95. So let's make sure. All right, $2,495.
I thought you said $24. Okay.
Does your work ever? Yeah, go ahead.
Does your work ever follow you home?
Well, Sedale, we were talking about that earlier. About
they cannot follow us home.
I can only say one time I was working on this young man who had died, and I'm an embalmer as well, and I had a lot of challenges with him and tried to get him back where he was because he went through a lot of trauma. And that's the only one I can say just followed me home. But you zone out. Like when I go to work, I embalm my grandmother, prepare my grandmother. You know, I didn't do my mom, but people who I know and love, no matter the relationship, I get into that zone where I'm working. So my job is to make this the best presentation possible. So I have to divorce my feelings for a period of time and get into that zone where I am the embalmer. I am the person preparing this person and making sure they're right. Of course, I do that with everybody. So do the best that I can.
I'm getting older now, so I don't embalm anymore by choice. But when I was embalming, it was just really important to me, especially when they were friends or family members, to make sure that they were just, when I prepared somebody, I always pretended they were a family member. Like I treated them like they were a family member.
Now that's the embalming side. The funeral side is
Good.
we never get away from our phones. People call day and night. We don't turn off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, I can get a death call 2:00 in the morning. This family needs me. So I can't say, oh, come back at 9, you know, and get in the office. No, mama laying on the floor, they need me to get up.
It's a member of our church. Hello, Brother Sedale and Sister Debra. Sister Debra, you know him. What inspired you all to become funeral directors? Does it make you all feel uncomfortable?
That's a good question.
Debra?
Yep.
It really doesn't make me feel uncomfortable. I can't, like most people say, they knew from the time they were a child that they wanted to do this. That's not why I got into this field. As a child, if you'd asked me, I said I was going to be a doctor when I grew up. But my 10th or 11th grade year in high school, when I realized how long I had to go to school to be a doctor, that all changed. So I met a person who was a funeral director, and when we started dating, I started mortuary school. And I can honestly tell you that I love this profession. If I had had any idea how rewarding it would be for me, I would have done this a long time ago. I actually had another career path and switched when I was in my late 30s, early 40s. So this is definitely something that I love doing. I love working with families. I'm never, ever feeling uncomfortable. My concern is always to make families feel comfortable. So if I experience a little discomfort, I would never tell anybody that.
I think I knew since I was 6. My great grandmother died in 1993, and I was just so inquisitive. I just want to know everything, and it's something I've always wanted to do. My family discouraged me. They didn't want me to do it. They wanted me to go on a regular career path. But when I got ready to graduate college, I made up my mind, this is what I want to do. And the Lord opened the doors, and I'm glad that I did it. I am happy. When you're doing something you love, it's never stressful. Now, I'm not saying you don't get pressure. I'm not saying you don't get tired, but it's never stressful. You know, I can embalm, 5, 6 bodies in a day. I may be tired of my body, but it's never wearing me out. And I say that because that's my lingo. I'll mean it like that, But it can take you to a different zone when you're doing what you're and I believe it's a calling, because to bear people and to carry people and to go through with people the worst time of their life, when they're heartbroken, when they're distressed, to be able to be with them and hold them up, you got to have a grace from God like no other.
Amen. Do the
triple B's cover funeral homes?
What's BBB?
Better Business Bureau.
Yes.
Better Business Bureau.
Yeah, we're heavily,
Better Business Bureau.
very heavily regulated. FTC, Federal Trade Commission, OSHA, Occupational Health.
But not regulated. Not regulated. There's the Better Business Bureau, meaning that can people give reviews and you get a credit score for businesses? So like you A+ by the Better Business Bureau and so forth. That way people can look you up to see if you are a good funeral home.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
We have so many questions.
People may not remember what you said, but they will remember how you made them feel.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Ruth.
How important is it for your family to be made aware of your final wishes?
Debra, you want to go first?
I say extremely important, because it just helps there not to be any conflict, or not as much conflict when people are trying to honor your wishes. When people don't have any idea, or you have made clear what your wishes are, it just leaves the door open for people to just have at each other.
Now, I will say this.
I
If
can't
I
wait
could,
for voice to them.
I would scream and jump up and down and say, Black people, my people, stop hiding. Stop being secretive. Let people know something. Let people know where your policies are, what your wishes are, where you want to be
Who the
buried.
beneficiary is.
Write it down in pencil. Now, this is my rule. Ink will wash away, but pencil lead will never fade. I keep plenty of pencils.
Yes.
Write down your wishes. And this is a technologically advanced society. Email it to somebody. You can go change it. Make copies. I would say make 3 copies of your insurance policies and your wishes. Keep one at your house, one at a trusted friend's house. Put in the envelope, seal it up. Tell them don't open it unless something happens to me. And email a copy to yourself. Fires, natural disasters, different things can happen. Please tell somebody, because nobody knows what you're thinking. And nobody wants to go look through your stuff. If you're in, I know there's stories, I don't know about Debra, but people in the hospital about to die and they're at the house looking up under the bed for the policies, wondering if you have insurance or not. Get an advance directive. Let somebody know if you want to be resuscitated or not. It is very important because people feel guilty. I'm telling you what I know. People feel guilty when they have to make decisions, whether to take you off life support or not.
Here's another good one. Can you make installments and payments for a final arrangement? I'm glad he said that because that's something my parents did. They made payments, and we were talking the other day about opening and closing.
If you're pre-arranging, you can. If you're pre-arranging,
right?
Yeah. You can buy insurance, or you can have
if you're pre-arranging.
So what you were saying? Well, so pre-arranging you can, and you can also buy specific funeral home insurance. You were saying, somebody's saying, right?
Correct.
So people with cancer, AIDS, all kind of health delays, they sell it.
There we go. This is from our friend Esther. What's the longest delay has there been because of the money was not right?
Woo! Sedale's going to hit this one, boy. I tell you, he's ready.
Yep, I can see it. I can see it.
He's scheming over there.
He's shaking their head, bro.
The delay wasn't long because of the money. A lot of times we were trying to find approval for military cemetery, whether they were going to be approved to be buried. Got the DD-214s need to be out. Another thing, do not listen to me. Do not leave your life insurance in a minor's name. They cannot use it. Cannot touch a minor because a minor cannot sign to release the funds. I would say 2 to 3 weeks until you got verification. Because see, once you bury people, you don't know if you're gonna get your stuff or not. But most times the delays are for other reasons, out of town, out of country burials. But I've had somebody hold for weeks trying to find out if they could go to the National Cemetery. You can get pre-approval for that as well. Get your DD-214, have the funeral home submitted. You can get pre-approved to know you're going out there. If you got to have an honorable discharge. And weekend warriors don't go. Go ahead.
I have seen several instances where the family will call and somebody makes a removal and they know that nobody's going to make arrangements for the person. They just want the body out of the house. And in those cases, you might see a body sit around for a long time.
Wow.
And those are what we call indigent cases, our county cases. The coroner, and we have coroners, y'all have medical examiners. After 2 or 3 weeks and nobody claims the body, the body becomes the property, quote unquote, of the state. And the state has jurisdiction whether to embalm, bury, or cremate the body. And so
it doesn't work that. Yeah, it doesn't work that way here.
Wow.
Here, if the body's not claimed within 72 hours, you can have them come and pick up the body. But after 72 hours, they won't take it. And then the funeral home has to either direct burial or find a family member who's willing to step in.
Okay, we're still
You
waiting
can't
on.
cremate them.
We're going to have to put you on 30 seconds to answer. We got a whole bunch. Let's go fast round question
Yeah.
answer.
Okay.
How important is grief counseling?
I think that's a case by case thing. Sometimes people, and I think as believers, sometimes we're more equipped for it and we get through it. And I think people who are just having a really hard time, it's easy to tell when somebody needs some counseling, especially with couples who've been married for a really long time, or parents who you lose young children sometimes will need counseling, and that can be important for them to just get through day to day.
Thanks, Latoya, for tuning in. Thank you very much. But she wants to know, is embalming required? And do I have to be embalmed if I don't want to?
No.
In Maryland, you have to be if you want a public viewing.
Yeah, most states, not all, but most states you have to be embalmed if you want a public viewing. But if you do not want, and let's define public viewing. That's like 2-3 people private viewing. People tell you, oh, we only got 2 people coming to 30 people out there to see somebody, before they get cremated or direct buried. Embalming is required if you have public viewing for sanitation purposes, for environmental health, but you do not have to be embalmed. There are plenty of religions and faiths that do not practice embalming, and you can do a direct burial or a cremation.
She just wanted to say
Hi,
hi.
Deb and Sedale.
Thank you.
Hi, Kim.
No, that one.
Yeah.
Can some?
I
Mark, sorry.
Wait, can
Go ahead,
someone buy and lock in the? Yeah. If you prearrange and you pay for your service in full, you can lock in a price. Now, some of the items are, and it depends if you have a guaranteed or a guaranteed in part contract. So some items will be guaranteed no matter whether they increase or not. Some contracts are guaranteed in part. And so typically that means the items that the funeral director is supplying directly are guaranteed, but things that we don't supply, like a casket, death certificates, those kinds of things are not our pricing. So we can't guarantee those prices.
Thank you. That makes sense.
That makes sense.
So what is the reason?
So what is the reason?
I don't know that question. What?
I don't.
So what's the reason a dead body takes its last breath? Because
back, Roxy.
I'm not sure what she means.
And I should Sharon, resend your question in a way that maybe we're not understanding what's going on.
Yeah, we have 10 minutes. Resend it. Yeah.
Okay, so this was a question. Oh, she was sorry. Or sorry, this is the question she meant to ask. Do you recommend burial insurance?
Whole life, if you ask me. I don't really like term because term runs out. If you're 50 and you get a 10-year term and you get 60, you're going to have to renew it, maybe higher. Whole life and get something manageable that you can pay for. $10,000, $20,000, $30,000. You can jump and get a $500,000 policy, but life situations, circumstances change. I'm a real person. Just make sure what you can handle. Go ahead, Debra.
And I differ a little bit in whole life, depending on your age. I think if you're a person in their 30s, a term life, and you get a 15 or a 20-year term, because it's going to be more reasonable, and you're going to have more money in your pocket, or more money to invest for your future or the future of your children. But if you're older, I say whole life.
Yeah, and if you are over 50 or 65, I would say I like AARP, Easy Acceptance Life, or get you a funeral burial insurance. You go plan your funeral, you get a policy for that amount, and you just pay for that. That way the funeral's done. Don't try to get a policy with all this and you can't afford it if you're on a fixed income. Just pay specifically for the funeral and the cemetery if you want to be buried, and let that be it.
So you guys know this lovely lady. She says, so how do you handle bodies that are badly decomposed and unable to prepare for public viewing?
closed casket. You just have a closed casket service.
We can still do embalming sometimes,
Mhm.
but we prepare them in a way that's dignified. If we can, we will
Tropical.
and wrap them and
Mhm.
dry ice, things like that.
Yeah, because I remember when my brother, when he passed away, he was in a car accident, and they had to have a closed casket because he had a lot of trauma to the head. So we had to have a closed casket. And that was in England. So, and then we like in other countries. That was going to be one of my questions. Is that like in other countries and religions? In England, it's like you have to wait 3 weeks, 4 weeks for a funeral after the person passes away. Some are just different. So for me, then he was like, give me time to get over there. But like other cultures and that, some do it quick, some take a long time.
Like
But
Muslims.
about a closed casket. I was about a closed casket. How do you know for sure your loved one is in that casket if it's closed casket? How do you know for sure?
Well, if it depends on the condition, I will show if they, you have to sign waivers. If they're able to be showed, if somebody wants to see and know, there are ways you can do it. ID tags. I will, if I can show you, if it's ethical and they may not look like you want them to look, but you can recognize it to them. I may show the person, but most time people trust us, they are tagged and there's different processes that go through to make sure that this person is verified to be that person.
Yeah.
I was asking because now, like the Jewish community, the Muslim community, their burial issues are different. Normally, I think Jewish communities 24 hours. They've got to be. How does that put you into more pressure? And I think Muslims might be the same way too, or something on that line. 7 days. I'm not sure. But does that put you under pressure when you make a call from them, or do they usually have their own funeral services that kind of handle those situations?
No, because you're usually prepared because you know that's what they expect. For the most part, Jewish families don't call us. They have their own funeral homes they're going to call. And I think the Muslim families are getting more to that now also. But we do serve Muslim families, and it's you just prepared. Most of the time, if it's a female, their women will come in, and if it's a man, the men will come in, and they bathe them, they wrap them, and they put oils on them. They even put them in the casket for you, and you literally just take them to the mosque and then to the cemetery. So it's not a lot of work for us except for filing the death certificates because they don't embalm. The only time there's really a work for us is if the person was in an accident or they've had an autopsy and you actually have to suture or sew them up before they come in to bathe them. That's it. They do everything.
Okay.
Some people say that a dead body may be let out air. Yeah, you know what you're saying? It makes it seem like they let out their breath.
And that's not true. Nothing causes that. The only time a dead person does something is if you make it do something. So somebody presses on the stomach or presses on the chest, or they bump it and the arm falls down. They don't move.
If there's air trapped in the lungs and the windpipe and you push on them, it may go through the vocal cords and making sound.
But they don't. Yes.
They don't sit back straight up and up like that.
Yeah, so you don't have to run away.
So the term set up comes when we're embalming and a body turns out good, like their color's good, their features come back, they fill out, like you say, oh, that body's sitting up well, like you're baking the cake and the cake rises and you're like, oh, the cake's set up, the same type of euphemism or expression is there. So people hear you say that and then they think, oh my God, they're sitting up, and that's where that term comes from.
We got 4 minutes, young people. We got 4 minutes. What's that? Sometimes showing an arm that may has a tattoo or an identifying mark is enough for the family to confirm that the person is actually them. Okay. Is that good? Yeah.
Is that accurate?
Go ahead.
Yes,
Good.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dental records too. Dental records, if there's a fire or somebody's unrecognizable, they'll use dental records to identify the person.
Okay, Rupert, you got this.
What is the importance and value of funeral directors of families having recent pictures of the deceased?
Oh, Jesus. Don't bring me a picture from 1970 when they graduated high school and they're 79 now. Who is this?
Mama's glamour shot from 1938, and you want us to make her look like that.
Like, pour our hair like this. No, we can't do it. It's very important. It's good to take pictures throughout.
Extremely.
Sometimes sickness causes people to lose weight. Sometimes certain illnesses cause people to gain weight for steroids. So when we get a person, we get the person. A lot of times we know them, a lot of times we don't. We get a person that has been sick enough to die. I'm not being funny, but you understand what I'm saying. Trauma, sickness has been severe enough for them to die. We're trying to bring them back to a place where they were. I don't know your mama, baby. I don't know how she looked. So if you show me, I can kind of get her back as close to that as possible. But it's very important to have recent pictures.
Well, to
So,
your
so
point,
how far back would you suggest?
Recent, like as recent
year?
as possible.
A year?
You need to take a good picture every year.
A year, okay.
Every year.
Every year.
It's good
Come
to
on,
take
Mark.
a nice-
what Sedale, to your point, Rupert, can you show one of those pictures
Yeah.
of a unique situation we've seen in
At a funeral.
Just real quick.
Yes.
Just anyone, don't matter.
Anyone, just real quick.
Which one this one?
Now,
That person sitting at a table at a funeral.
I mean,
non-traditional.
Non-traditional.
now, have you had any weird requests like that?
And see, as a person who can embalm and who can dress and who can do cosmetics, when I look at that picture, I want to slap the funeral director. I'm just being honest. I would never do that. I would never do that.
We entertain.
We've seen many where someone's been sitting on a throne. We've seen some on motorbikes. Right here.
there.
Yes. Look, see? I mean,
Now
please.
the guy sitting on the motorbike looks the most natural of all the other pictures. He looks like he could really be riding the motorbike.
And he looks like he'll never
Look
let
at
go.
this man. Look at his head and his shoulders. That's what I'm looking. I would never do that.
People are
Yeah,
requesting
well-
non-traditional options these days, and we are able to service. Some funeral homes are more open to service than others.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
so
we have
1
1 minute. You got to tell us about the thing we talked about yesterday, that hyper, that you freezing people now. What is that?
The fluid, the liquid.
Alkaline hydrolysis.
The liquid.
What is it called?
Alkaline hydrolysis. Deborah?
30 seconds. Explain.
No, I don't want to talk about it. So it's an alternate option to cremation. So it's not done with fire. It's go ahead, Sedale. Tell them.
Go ahead, Sedale. Come on, you got 30 seconds. Sedale. Come on, man.
Basically frozen and freeze dried and dried out and just shaken up into a small piles and reduced into a pile of dust, just like cremation. But anyway, instead of fire, use water. And so
Okay,
that's
we out of time.
Hey, Sedale, Deborah,
Thank you so much for having us.
We thank you for this valuable information. Believe me, we take it to heart because we didn't know.
Call me at Long Green.
All right.
Oh Lord! Shout outs.
Tune in next week. We have another exciting show
Yes,
for
we
you. Just
do.
might hear us say,
You're welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you.
I don't know about that.
Sedale, Deborah. Don't go off. Don't go off.
all right.